gangstas. Alright, so right now the moon is at 67.4% illumination in the sign of Pisces, headed towards that full moon in Taurus on the 15th. So, right now, I feel that, well, more than I feel, I know that people have been, at least in my side of the world, they've been talking about how they get depressed every time it gets cold out. And I would like to actually shed some light on this, right? Not everything is mental illness. I know that a lot of it is, but not everything. And the reason I say that is because if you think about it, you're a mammal, right? And so mammals, like bears and deer and even flies and spiders, even the non-mammalian, creatures, when it does get colder out, what happens is they eat a bunch of food and then they hibernate, right, until it gets warm again. So we're the only, mammals that kind of go against our natural, biological way, right? Because we continue to go to school and we continue to work and we continue to do all this stuff. Like, honestly, if we were to go by our biology, instead of giving kids 3 months of a summer break, we would do that in the winter, right? Because in the summertime, you're gonna actually have more productivity, right? You're going to feel more creative, more productive, more into it, right? And in the wintertime is actually when you're going to feel less productive and less motivated, right? You're gonna feel less driven for all that stuff. So because naturally your body's like, I just want to eat a bunch of food and go to sleep, right? It's the cold months, I'm supposed to do this, right? But we don't do that. So it feels like depression, but it's really a biological response to the cold and us going against our own nature, right? And also, like, the way the years are, I think it's weird too. I have a few different topics to touch on this. So, I think it's weird the way that our years are structured. It doesn't make sense if you live in a place that has all 4 seasons like I do, right? Because it feels like the year should begin in spring, right? Like April, May should be the beginning of the year, right? And that's actually where we start our zodiac year. Is like we start with, I believe, Aries, right? And that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Why we would start in the spring where everything's coming to life, where everything's bursting into awakeness, right? And that's dope. And it's just interesting that to us that we go right into the middle of winter and then we're like, this is the new year. This is the new start. It doesn't actually make sense because it's still going to be cold and rainy and snowy and shit all the way through like February, March, Well, not all the way into March usually, but February, And so to me, it feels more like that's the ending of the year. But I'm sure that it's just too logical. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So when we do our New Year's resolutions, this gets to my next point. This is also why I think it's harder for us to accomplish our New Year's resolutions, right? Because it's in the middle of the winter. We're like, yeah, we're gonna go to the gym, we're gonna start these diets, we're gonna do this, we're gonna be so productive, waking up at 4 a.m., taking cold showers, love it, we're gonna do all that, right? And this is why we fail. Okay, this is exactly why we fail, because we're choosing the worst time of our biological year to do it. And then we get a couple weeks in and we're still like, bro, I just want to eat snacks and sleep. Like, this is too much. And then spring and summer hits and you've got all this energy and all this creativity. You feel motivated, energized. You're like, I want to be out in the world doing stuff. Duh. Duh. Because that's the beginning of the actual year, you know. And so, you know, even into fall, like I still like hiking and doing stuff into fall. And then it's like, but then as soon as like the real winter hits, then it's like, dude, I just want to be like cozy and chilling. I don't want to be at no gym. I don't want to be pumping iron. Like, no, dog. I don't want to be doing all that, right? And so I feel that we need to give ourselves grace, because I feel also that this whole resolution thing that we put on ourselves, it really sets us up to feel like failures in our own eyes, right? Because it sets these goals that are so not unattainable, but like hard to attain. And one thing I've noticed about people who make actual significant changes in their lives is that it never happens on a resolution. Almost never, right? Almost never. It'll be like they'll be just sitting in the club one day at like in the middle of a September, for a random example, right? They'll just be chilling in the club and then all of a sudden it just hits and they're like, I don't enjoy any of this. This is stupid. Like, all this is a waste of money and a waste of energy. These aren't even the kinds of people I want to end up with. Why am I in a meat market? Like, you know, and you find yourself changing in the most interesting ways, in the most random moments, right? In the most random, that was just one example, right? It could be even, you know, just sitting in your car, you know, and then your car starts making a noise and you're like, no, I need to get fucking serious about my budget because I ain't dealing with the car problems I can't afford, or whatever, you know. But there's always something that challenges us. And it's always going to be at the most random times of our lives. It's not going to be like, oh, we set a goal day and then, you know, whatever. Like, you're going to be the most willing and the most motivated, usually in times when you're at your lowest point, right? When you're like, it literally can't get worse than this, so I may as well start making it better, right? And so people that I've known who've made very significant changes in their lives, you know, like I had this friend, for example, and I'm not going to name any names, you know, like privacy and shit, but like, you know, she had dealt with drugs and alcoholism and all kinds of shit for a long time. And you could just tell she was going through it, you know, and so she ended up meeting, like, well, I wouldn't even say meeting, they were friends forever, but she ended up, like, dating our friend, right? And together they made the decision to get sober and to work on their lives and to become better. And, you know, to me, I was like, that's crazy, because, like, usually in recovery groups they say like be single for like a year and da 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 da, but I noticed that like what works for one doesn't always work for another. And what happened for them, at least, was they were both at like, you know, a stage in their life where they just wanted everything to get better, right? They wanted stability, they wanted a stable relationship, they wanted to feel successful with one another, they wanted, you know. And now, I mean, they've been together for freaking ever now, and they have a bunch of cats, and they're just the dopest. They're always like painting pictures and cooking together. They became like, you know, like they ended up becoming each other's backbone in recovery, and in building this kind of life that they wanted for themselves, right? So it almost never happens in the textbook way that you would think that things should happen, right? And so I don't know who I'm talking to, obviously, but I feel that there are like the energy I'm picking up is somebody who is in a state of like a cocoon, right? Like in a self-improvement state, somebody who is working towards something, or is building like kind of this vision for what they want in life, right? Or what you want in life. That's what I'm feeling. And so I want you to know that these changes almost never happen in the textbook way. It's like you wake up one day and you're like, everything needs to change right now. And then you just do it, right? You change everything, right? And one thing I've noticed, and it's not all the time, but like people start changing their physical appearance first, right? When things start changing, like Coco Chanel once said, a woman who changes her hair is about to change her life, right? And so hair is a commonality, right, among like people who are going to change significantly. And with my own hair journey, yeah, like it changes you a lot, right? You go through a whole identity shift when you do something dramatic or drastic to your hair. And so I feel that, whatever changes you're going through, right? I feel that you might be starting like to change the externals a little bit, right? Maybe who your friend circles are, or maybe like your physical appearance a little bit. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. Like you're on this journey of like everything's changing, everything needs to change. I'm seeing that scene from Master of Disguise when the guy's like, become another person. That's what I'm feeling. Like you're evolving into something. You're evolving into somebody you've never been before, right? I ain't even pulled no cards. I'm already in it. Okay. Yeah, we've got a shadow self, denial, projection, shame, right? And I love this card, right? I do, because this is shadow work, right? This is doing that. I don't think the shadow is a bad thing. I don't think that darkness is inherently evil and light is inherently good, right? I think that everything's a little bit beyond good and evil here. When we work with our shadow, a lot of what we come to find is that, yeah, okay, the ego may not be the most evolved part of ourselves, right? We call it the lower self for a reason. However, its entire job is to protect us, right? So when we get boastful and arrogant and whatever in our ego, that's because it's our ego trying to protect us, right? Trying to puff us up and make us look big in times where we feel intimidated or small, or in times where we feel like insignificant, right? Our ego is always there trying to keep us going, right? And so I feel that when we do shadow work, the ideal should not be to kill your ego. I feel like that is so dramatic, and you can't kill your ego without killing yourself, right? I think you should integrate your shadow, right? Like Carl Jung style. Like I think this is something that needs to be integrated, where the higher self and the shadow self, they like work together as a single unit, right? Because your shadow self is part of your intuition, right? If you notice, if you pay attention to when the shadow picks up, when you feel triggered, when you feel arrogant and boastful, when you feel your ego working, right? When you feel that it's working, then it's actually intuitively telling you something, right? It's telling you that you don't feel safe. You don't feel comfortable. This is not the environment for you. These are not the people for you, right? Your ego actually tells you a lot when you are listening to it correctly, right? And so it shouldn't be the bad guy. Yes, we should tame it, right? But it's like a puppy, okay? It's like a puppy. It barks and shits all over the house or whatever, it does whatever puppies do. And do we kill puppies for being puppies? No. We train them, right? And that's the same kind of thing that we gotta do with our ego. We gotta train it. We gotta be gentle with ourselves, dog. We need to stop being harder on ourselves because the world is already fucking hard on us, right? If you want everything to change, give yourself the grace to do it slowly, right? If that's the pace you need to do it at, because too much at once can throw you into culture shock and then you get an identity crisis, and that can be a lot, right? Allow yourself to take steps, allow yourself to have time to do it, right? Or rather than being like, everything needs to be perfect right now, because it won't be. No matter how improved everything gets, it will not be perfect. And the reason why it won't be perfect is because you've got a human brain, right? Too much of a good thing is too much, right? And then there will have to be some kind of obstacle or whatever thrown in the way to liven up life, right? You don't want complacency. You don't want to plateau in life and just bring, real growth and real expansion of self requires us to not wish for no troubles, right? It's to wish that we're strong enough to overcome them, that we're powerful enough to overcome them, that when the struggles come, they don't phase us, right? It's like when you're boxing, right? The first couple of hits you take is like, holy shit, okay? Like, get clocked, right? But then you grow familiar with it, right? You grow familiar with what it's like to take that hit. And then you start taking them better and better and better, right? A great boxer is actually not defined by how hard they hit, but how hard of a hit they can take and still stand, right? And so, I feel that what may feel like the end of the world one year, right? What may feel like, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart, like, you'll see the following year that it really wasn't that bad, right? Or it wasn't not survivable, right? Like, you've overcome it, you fixed it, you went through whatever you had to go through, right? Like, for example, the things I was stressing about in high school are not even concerns to me now, right? Crushes I had that I was like, oh my god, I'm in love. No, dude, I'm fine without them, actually, right? And everybody I've ever, and I mean, maybe that sounds cold, but it's true. It's like anybody I've ever had deep feelings for, though they matter, like, they left a good, imprint on my life, on who I am as a person and everything else. Like, it doesn't mean that they're there, that they need to be there for every season, right? For the next season or whatever, the next chapters. And it's like, they were there for the season I needed them, and that's it. And I'm not going to sit here and pine and whatever, because I know that the person I was with in them is not even the same person that they are today, right? Like, I'm not even the same person that they were with, so, when you understand that, it makes it a lot easier to not be taking exes back, right? Or to not do all that, because you realize, like, you're not even with the same person or the same feelings or the same mindsets when you try to go back to it, right? So yeah, anyway, let's get into your reading, because I'm just going off without any need for the cards. This is a mostly channeled reading. Alright, let's see. Yeah, right off the bat, I'm seeing the Five of Wands, right? And with the shadow self, this could be like internal conflict. This could be like, this could even be conflict with other people, competition at work, you know, that kind of stuff. But it feels like this is kind of what you're working through, right? This is part of your shadow self. You have to recognize your triggers in order to heal them. So you got to be triggered first. This could have been in your recent past too, because I see the focus shifting. We've got this Two of Pentacles, right? Where you make a decision, or you decide you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, right? Like, I'm over the conflict, I'm over the bullshit. There's certain things that I'm just not tolerating anymore. I'm just not doing. And I see you kind of making a decision, like weighing the pros and cons. And what you decide to focus your attention on is this Ten of Pentacles, right? This is generational wealth, right? This is trying to establish yourself in your stability, right? Getting those resources that you need, taking care of business, maybe paying off debts, getting your credit in order so that you can like invest in a house or a business or something. But I see you deciding to shift your focus here from that conflict to, okay, problem solving, right? Number one thing about successful people is that they're just good problem solvers, right? And a problem arises and they solve it. And that's where success kind of comes from. It's just consistently solving problems. It's not having problems, it's solving problems, right? So I see you shifting into this mindset of, okay, I understand that problems are going to exist, but rather than stressing on them, I'm going to focus on solving them, right? We've got the Page of Cups here, right? And I see that you might have admirers. It kind of looks like somebody like wants to come in offering like their cup. This could be somebody from the past or a new person, but it looks like somebody just admires you, right? Like they want to offer some kind of connection, right? Like they want to connect with you. They might like try to hang out with you or whatever. They might even spill their guts about their feelings. But it feels more like subtle than that, right? It feels like, yeah, they want to make an offer here, right? An emotional offer, but it doesn't feel like they're gonna be like, I'm in love with you right off the bat, right? They're just, it feels more like, hey, we should hang out or go on a date or something, you know, like the initial stages of something here. We've got the Sun card in reverse, Leo energy. This card actually doesn't have a reverse meaning. The Sun card is going to mean the same in both directions, right? And this is all about finding that abundance, that clarity, that happiness, right? This is also getting in touch with like your inner child. And if you see here, we've got Humpty Dumpty helping Alice over the wall, right? And so I see that like you may not be alone in getting over these obstacles, right? Like it looks like people want to come in and help you. You might have opportunities, like financial opportunities coming up, or there could be like a business partnership coming up or something. But it looks like people do want to help you kind of build this vision that you have, you know? You might be a Leo, because you're showing up as a King of Wands, right? And so and you don't necessarily have to be. You could have it in your chart, or it could just be the energy you're sitting in right now. But that energy is the energy of feeling very motivated for change, right? Like, this is feeling inspired. This is also like that boss ass energy, like you were meant for leadership, or you may be in a leadership position already. It just feels like you're in a state of living your truth, right? And overcoming obstacles as they show up. Six of Cups in reverse. This is putting the past behind you, right? This is kind of leaving it to rest, right? You know, and not really playing into your nostalgia, right? Because sometimes we can trick ourselves with nostalgia, right? We will romanticize people and situations and make it out like it was something that it was like it was better than it actually was, or whatever, just because we're in a state of loneliness or whatever. I see you shutting that shit down, right? I see you kind of trying to not focus on the past, right? Not be nostalgic. You're just like, no, dude, I don't have time to be paying mind to that right now. I've got to focus on what I've got to focus on, right? Then we have the Emperor in reverse, which indicates to me that this could either be like a father figure or like a boss. But perhaps you weren't seeing like eye to eye. Perhaps you felt that they were like in their ego or like childish. You didn't feel like this was somebody who was operating from a higher position or whatever. If this is like a work thing, they could be, you might switch jobs, or they might switch jobs. I kind of want to get clarity on that. It almost looks like, but you could also be like moving out, because we've got the Four of Wands in reverse, which indicates to me like the ending, like leaving a household or breaking a contract, or, you know, walking away from something. Who is this Emperor to you, or Emperor in reverse? This could be somebody who's like sitting in the position you want, right? And what I mean by that is like, they could be with somebody you want to be with, or they could have the job that you want to have. This could be, but you don't feel that they're very worthy or deserving of it, right? You're like, why do they get all this when they're operating out of their ego and da 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 da. With the Hanged Man in reverse, I see this like kind of being cleared up for you, right? I see this no longer becoming an obstacle, and if that's the case, I feel that you should really not be paying them your attention, because something that I've noticed with people is like, not every good thing goes to people who deserve it, right? You could be the best person in the world, do all the right things, be absolutely perfect by society's standards, and still get crucified. Okay, or you could get shot in the head, or you could get hanged or burned alive, right? You could still be poor and live in poverty. You could have all this, and I'm using these examples as these are people, right? These are the outcomes of some people who were perfect by society's standards, right? Jesus Christ, John Lennon, right? Like, fucking, for me, every witch, right? But yeah, freaking Martin Luther King, there's so many people who do good things, right? That live, the most moral lives, and they may not ever have the kind of wealth that Donald Trump does, or that Epstein did, or that Weinstein did, or that Seth Green did, right? And it's like, it's almost like people get blessed here, right? It feels almost like the more evil a person is, the more blessed they get here. And that's so crazy, right? And it's crazy if you don't realize it for what it is, that this is a devil's playground, right? And so it makes sense that people who lie, cheat, steal, all that, sure, they could have all the riches on this planet, but they're actually the poorest ones, right? All they have is money. They didn't have love. They didn't have gardens. They don't have they don't have livestock. They don't know how to sew. They don't know how to take care of a wound. They don't have any actual life experience. So really, they're the poorest people on the planet, right? Like, if their fucking pipes were to burst under their sink right now, they would have to call somebody else to do it, because they don't have the knowledge of how to switch out a little PVC pipe. Okay, like, and knowledge is true wealth, right? When you are able to do things without having to outsource everything, then that shows me that you're way more wealthy, right? If you can put new cabinets in your kitchen yourself, if you can paint your own fucking walls, you can do all these other things. You can do your own tune-up on your car. You're way more wealthy because you don't have to waste so many more resources to get the job done, right? Smarter, not harder. So really, they're the poorest ones of us all. If all their economic systems were to collapse right now, right, they would not be the ones surviving. It would be the ones who had to work in the fields, who were plumbers, who were maintenance techs, who are, like, people who had to do real fucking jobs, make everything, those are the people who would survive with, and true wealth to me is like, who could survive the longest without money? Like, if all the money in the world were to just stop mattering, like, who would survive the longest? That's true wealth, right? Because I would absolutely love to see these multi-billionaires build themselves a hut that they can live in, that has a heat source, that they have running water to, that they, I would love to see that, because I see people on YouTube doing that shit all the time. And they don't, they're not these Upper East Side kids, whatever. So yeah. Don't envy the evil, right? Don't envy the wicked. And, don't look at people and be like, why do they get all this when they're da-da-da? Well, that's what they get. That's all they get. They don't get the wealth of knowledge. They don't get actual education, right? Actual education is pretty hands-on, right? Like, like the proper way to use a dirk, for example, when slaughtering an animal. Do they know how to do that? Probably not, right? They probably don't even know what a dirk is. But, yeah, so there's that. Anyway, I'm gonna carry on, right? I do see with the Chariot card that there's movement in your path. Alright, you're either moving away, moving on, moving up, moving out, moving forward, whatever. But you're no longer limited by this feeling of like, oh, they get all that they want, because I see that your wish fulfillment is coming, right, with the Nine of Cups. I do see that, you know, like, what you want is coming. But the thing is, the challenge here is this Nine of Swords, right? It's a constant overthinking, the constant comparing your situation to other people's. This is the being in your head and wanting everything to change all at once, and it's just, that's not how that works. We all want it to work that way, but that's not, you know, like, the best way to improve your situation is to just start looking at every problem in your life. Write down every problem, every debt, everything that you would consider a problem, and start solving them. Okay? Like, that's, you know, just as basic as it gets, is you start looking at all the problems you have and you just start solving them, right? And that is the road to success. Rather than sitting here overthinking and dwelling and not doing anything, right? Don't be inactive when it comes to your problems, right? Actively solve them, right? We've got the Ten of Swords in reverse, right? Rebirth energy. This is, you know, you're about to rise out of that cocoon, and you're being renewed in spirit, right? You're being renewed in mind and heart too. You are changing. And with the Strength card here, Leo energy, like I said, I mean, you've got Cancer, Aries on the board here as well, but I feel very strongly this Leo energy, because you got the Sun, the Strength, the King of Wands. So either you are a Leo or you're dealing with one. I don't know, but or you have it in your chart somewhere. But the Strength card is really about more than just your resilience, right? It's about what you can resist, right? When we can resist bad habits, when we can resist toxic friend groups, when we can resist, you know, things that we know aren't good for us, right? So there's a lot of restraint in strength. And I feel that that is the energy that you're tapping into. You're just kind of like, you're in this position of starting to say no to everything that you don't want, right? And just kind of super focusing on everything that you really do want. And that starts with solving all of your problems and understanding that they are your responsibility to do so. We have 10-10 on the board here too, with the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Swords in reverse, endings and new beginnings. I do see that whatever it is, whatever challenges or that you're facing, you know, these are your own specific set of challenges. And these challenges are not here to punish you, but to show you what you're capable of. All right? You would never, Thor would never have been able to know that his hammer was going to come back to him if he chucked it, right? And so, like, I think that also is part of your journey. Like, you won't know until you do it, right? Like, Thor probably chucked that hammer so hard that, like, you know, he's like, this shit ain't never coming back, whatever. And then bam, came back. Yeah, I use a lot of deities as references for my things, but I think they're dope, right? Hercules would have never have known that he could hold up all the heavens for Atlas if he did not do it, right? Psyche never would have considered that she could ever actually become deified and become a goddess. Had she have never stood up to Aphrodite, right? Like, there are so many things that let us know that these challenges, they're not punishment, they're betterment. You're not going to know until you're not going to know about your superpower until you are in a situation where you have no other choice but to use it, right? Whatever that superpower is, you know. We have the High Priestess in reverse, Pisces energy. I feel like you could have doubts about somebody or something. With the Eight of Swords in reverse, I feel like it's so crazy because you see it, right? Like, you see, this is so specific. Like, there's an individual that you're dealing with, right? That presents themselves, right? This King of Cups, right? Very loving, very like emotional, very doting, whatever. But you have these doubts, right? With this High Priestess in reverse, you have your doubts about this person. It's like you see beneath the surface with this person. With the Hierophant in reverse, Taurus energy, it's like you feel like they don't learn or grow. They just, like, I feel like you feel that they're a bit deceptive, right? With the Ace of Swords in reverse, right? The Ace of Swords is about truthfulness, right? It's about being forthright. It's about not being afraid of the truth, right? But it feels like you're dealing with somebody who perhaps is, right? Or somebody that you feel like you just don't trust, right? There's like this energy, this doubt, this lack of trust, this seeing somebody for what they are, but still kind of sitting on the crossroads about them, right? With the Two of Wands, like, oh, well, you know, it's convenient to deal with this person, or it's convenient to go through what you're going through, or whatever. And perhaps that's the Emperor in reverse that you were dealing with before. Perhaps this person, you know, because that Page of Cups, you know, isn't quite this. It's like, I see that you're looking through somebody's facade here, right? It's like you see what they present themselves as, but you also see who they are, like they can't get their story straight. There's a lot that you're trying to prevent here, though. With the Three of Swords in reverse, you're like, fuck, that'll hurt. And Five of Cups in reverse, that's also very, you know, that would, you know, be very emotionally damaging, right? So I feel that you're trying to preserve yourself or protect yourself from being hurt or emotionally disappointed, right? So somebody is either like coming in trying to like, I don't feel that you have actually like, I don't know, this just feels like somebody in your energy, but you're just on the fence about this person, but it's like they're still kind of in your life, but you don't fucking trust them, and you see them for who they are, right? This could be friends, family, whatever. This could be a potential partner, But because I mean, the Page of Cups did show up. It looks like you haven't like written them off. It's just that you have your doubts about this person, and you do see them for like what's underneath, right? Using your multi-dimensional perception here, you don't trust them at all with anything. Well, then why are they still in your life? Karmic soul tie. Seeing the Justice come out here with this Two of Cups, there's a karmic soul tie with this person. Because the way I see it is justice represents like karmic justice, like things that must play out karmically, right? And the Two of Cups is kind of like a minor arcana love card, right? So this is definitely something that needed to transpire, however it is, whether you've been with them or not. It's so interesting though, because like the Two of Cups is here, but it doesn't feel like. But you feel moved on a bit, but also not, if that makes sense. Just kind of like teetering on the fence. So I don't know if you're actually in a relationship with this person or if it's a prospective one. And maybe right now you have an opportunity to kind of, because the Justice card is also Libra energy. But it's kind of like right now you have an opportunity to either relive a karmic soul tie or to like move forward from it. With the Hermit card, Virgo energy, your advice here is to not go down that road, right? Like, though you may have had to meet them, you may have had to energetically connect, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to keep them in your life, right? And when I see the Hermit card, I see like this glowing up in secret, right? Like this is the card of kind of like tucking yourself away, maybe like slowing down on your social life, maybe not going out as much, spending more time in solitude and in reflection, and just kind of focusing on what is it within your realm of control, what you can accomplish, and what you really want in life, right? And that's with or without a partner. I think that when you go into hermit mode and you're focusing on what you want in your life, despite having a partner, like what do you want your life to look like, right? What kind of house do you want? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of, whatever. These things do matter. Because it helps give you something else to focus on than this, because I just see like a lot of avoidance here with this connection, like avoiding hurt, avoiding disappointment, fear, doubt, lack of trust. It doesn't feel like this is something that you should invest yourself into, if you're already coming at it from that energy. It feels kind of like the right kind of person is not going to make you compromise who you are, right? They're not going to make you feel um, like you need to change who you are, right? They're going to love you as is. And on the flip flop, you're going to feel like you don't want to change them, or you want them to stay exactly how they are and whatever. Or, you want to grow together, right? Even if you guys are going through changes or whatever, you feel like this is somebody who's growing in the same direction as you. But sometimes we find these partners that are so outwardly ideal, right? They're from the outside perspective, they're absolutely perfect, and then the things that you deal with internally with certain people, you realize that it's not really um, worth the expense, right? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the emotional expense. Some people are just they still operate in that emperor in reverse energy, right? They think that they rule the fucking world and that everything revolves around them, and they should just get everything they want just because they want it, not because they ever worked for a damn thing, you know. I feel like this is kind of the energy of the person that you're dealing with. Somebody who's very entitled, and somebody who just thinks everyone is so stupid, that they continue with the deceit, right? They continue with and that's so insulting, right? And your heart just isn't aligned with theirs, right? Where they may be considering all that you can give to them, all that you can offer them, and you're sitting there considering the same thing, right? You're sitting there like, what can I offer them? What can I give to them? What can I do for them? When really both partners should have that mindset, right? It shouldn't be where one partner's like, what can you do for me? What can you give to me? What can da 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 da? It should be two partners, ideally in love, that are always thinking about what they can do for the other, right? What they can do to improve their life and it should never be for selfish gain. Love is not a selfish thing, right? It should be reciprocated, sure, but when you love somebody, you shouldn't be thinking, well, they should just give me everything, right? Or da 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 da. It should be mutual, right? Everybody deserves a partner, who is a partner, not somebody who's just there to take advantage of you or to use your status or your wealth or whatever, because that's not love, right? Love is very selfless. Love is it's about it's and like I always say, I always quote this Abraham Tversky. He was he did this thing called True Love Explained, and it starts out with, young man, why are you eating that fish? And the young man says, well, because I love that fish. Well, or because I love fish. And then the old man says, well, if you love the fish, why'd you take it out of the water, boil it, and eat it? If you love the fish, you would have left it alone, right? To be the fish that you love. But so much of what is love is like fish love. It is, what can I get out of this person? What can they fulfill in me? And I don't know, it's very sad how modern love is really the opposite of love. So, anywho, I am going to see what Kali has to say because this was a very long reading for somebody who clearly needs it. Somebody who's struggling. I feel like this is like a past person or soon to be past person, right? Because this just feels like you're dealing with somebody who's very manipulative, right? Somebody who has an agenda for sure. Let's see. Bhadrakali. There is not always a need to try to grapple and conquer. Sometimes the need is simply to let go. Just because another has created a certain reality for themselves and is attempting to draw you in, it does not mean that you must participate. You have the divinely granted gift of choosing where to invest your energy and be kind to yourself. Bhuvaneshwari. She is the rising sun, marking the ending of darkness and the replenishment of life force after illness or devastation. She creates a clean slate and a fresh start. She protects and preserves that which is worthy of the heart. She shines in a perpetual state of divine beauty and radiance, attracting to us the most supportive and honoring circumstances. Let's see if there's anything else before I close this out. Kurakula. To receive your divine inheritance of blessings and support for sacred fulfillment, certain karmic conditions that resonate at a lower frequency need to be cleared. Kurakula signifies a time of rapid movement on your path and a freedom to attract what you want and need. Let go of that which does not belong in your world, release, and you shall receive. And see, that's kind of what I was talking about, those karmic conditions, those karmic relationships, those karmic situationships, all those, I feel like right now you're in a state of needing to just clear all that out because your mindset is not in the same place as this person that you're dealing with. And it's very challenging, right? Because you're in this King of Wands energy. And this King of Wands is somebody who lives their truth, somebody who prides themselves on truth and justice, right? We've got the Justice card right here as well. And it just feels like whoever you are hung up on, it's like they just fed you a lot of deception, a lot of manipulation, a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment, right? These are things that you need to heal yourself from, right? And it's like you saw them for what they were and you just saw, how that was. And going back to that Four of Wands in reverse, because I just saw that in there again, this is somebody you could have lived with, right? This is somebody that you could have felt that you wanted to marry or build a life with, right? And so, yeah, it's a lot more devastating to lose somebody like that. Also, it's super dope to lose somebody like that because then you haven't wasted your time actually marrying them and actually having a kid with them and actually doing all that stuff, right? And if you have, I'm sorry. But it's a lot easier to lose somebody before you take those big steps than it is after, and it's, yeah, it sucks. It hurts. It's, the heart doesn't want to let go sometimes, but I feel like you physically have, or you already know, right? You're like, it's in you, right? You saw them for what they are and the situation for what it is, and it's like you can stop the suffering whenever you want. You just have to choose to let go, right? To fully move on and to fully focus on your future and to not dwell on that anymore, to not let that have control over you and power over your life. But anywho, that's what I have for you. I hope this was helpful. Namaste. I love you all, and I will see you later.